The Dance of the Stars, translated and collected by Ina Unar, chronicling the seed of the Unainir. Chapter 1. The Daughters of Ira. Ira, Cloudbringer, father of all who soar upon the winds, bore 2 daughters, Irana and Anira. Their mother, Sepha, belonged to the northern clan of Sekir. She was the daughter of Ekir, the leader of the clan, who had 2 daughters and 1 son. Sepha was the eldest daughter, and Ira saw her as beautiful. On the night when the stars courted the dreams of the women of Crimson, in the first age of fallen stars, Ira appeared to Sepha in her dreams, his beauty even more radiant when untethered. When the Starborn presented themselves to the leaders of the Crimson people, Ira took Sepha's hand in marriage in exchange for the great knowledge the Starborn possessed. After the great feast, when the Starborn took their wives to their lofty place of dwelling, away from the eyes of the Crimsons, Ira came to know his new bride, and she conceived twin daughters. The first to come forth was Irana, followed by Anira. Irana was fierce and wild, her hair long like the ivory grass of the moonlit plains. Anira was strong and wise, her eyes shining brighter than her celestial father's, holding the depth of wisdom of 1,000 lifetimes. The twins were raised by their mother in a palace built north of Sekir to house the progeny of Ira. In the year when the Mountain of Tears bled with molten stone, casting up a great cloud that hid the stars, the daughters of Ira came of age. A great feast was prepared for Ira, for even the mountains shouted for joy, thundering with exuberance that the Cloudbringer had borne 2 beautiful daughters. Their twin birth was a sign of the duality of Ira, for Ira loved to soar upon the clouds, free from the chains of the earth, alighting upon the mountain tops, pondering the words that are of the threads of life. A wellspring of fire, a cistern running deep, from which is yielded a fire that consumes even stone, melting it down to a roiling sea of volcanic desolation, a maw that even the waters of the deep could not quench. The feast was set at the northern palace. A third of the livestock was dedicated to the table of Ira. Wine that had been preserved since the first harvest of the star's descent was brought out. The bread was made from the fields that yielded the sweet grain the Crimsons call star seed. The dancers of Talmar were brought from their rest in Jareth to dance before the Cloudbringer and his 2 daughters. Musicians from the eastern mountains of Jafal came with their bodies to produce sounds of such elegance and wonder that the tears of Ira flowed and were quickly caught up by the Orphil, who do not have eyes to see nor shed tears, but are the keepers of the tears of Ira. Ira's daughters were clothed in the finest linens, woven from the hair of the willow beast with inlays of celestial stones. Their fair skin was covered with the proverbs of the elder tongue. Every flower that was fair was placed in their hair. Precious stones from lakes that never saw stars adorned them. When they were presented to Ira, he beheld his daughters and said, "I see 2 moons, full and radiant, reflecting a beauty that the dawn brings. Like a star that meets the sea, so the diver goes down to the floor of the deep, finding radiant pearls made of the union of the heavens and the sea. For how can something so beautiful shine in the depth where the stars dare not reach? Though the trek may be perilous, the reward is beyond compare." He then took the hand of his wife and said, "O Sepha, my sacred jewel, you have borne me twin daughters who have been bestowed with the beauty of their mother. You have been blessed with the care of my offspring, and have exceeded in your maternal duty. Your gentle whispers of wisdom I have stored up within my heart. When I sailed on the eastern winds, away from your sanguine gaze, I felt at peace knowing that my progeny was safe within your embrace, quieted and nourished by your ivory bosom. No precious stone has caught my gaze more than your eyes, which drew me to you in the place where the dreaming walk. As long as your hand is in mine, your fire will not extinguish, and you will see days that 10 generations from now will never see, and remember things that sages have long forgotten, their bones turned to dust. After these words were spoken by Ira, a glass was given to the basins that are given to those outside the walls of the palace at its eastern gate. Then the great poet Ophir wove a ballad that the musicians of Jafal moved to, their instruments joining in the telling of the twins' lives, both together and on their journeys apart, ending at the very feast they graced. The table cheered and wept at such a great gift that would be sung for generations to come. For this was the beginning of their tale, and from that time forward, their deeds together as the cord with 2 knots would be added to the grand ballad that the great poet Ophir sang on the Feast of the 2 Moons. Irana was the eldest of the twins. She is the moon that rises in the south, where the horizons at twilight are blood red. She holds the spirit of her father, whose temper billows the storms that rain down lightning. She gathers men like her father gathers the winds into a whirlwind, tearing through the plains and scattering those who do not build their houses from stone or take shelter within the earth. Many have tried to tame the windy mane of Irana, but soon found that they became mere strands in her ambitions and vices. When the call of the June is heard in the night, those still awake to hear its song remember the eldest daughter of Ira, the June of the crescent vineyards. Junes are birds known to eat the bats that feast on the grapes, and they are seen as a symbol of protection in their culture. Because of this, Junes are revered as part of the process of making wine. Myths tell that in the lands of the Inain, Junes bring grapes down from the vines of the great vineyard, tending to the cosmic fruit that is taken to the underworld, where it ferments and is brought back up to the halls of the Father to be drunk in merriment and celebration. When Irena was a child, she and Anira walked within the great storm birds their father had built. Irana marveled at the destruction they might cause, while Anira was inspired by their ability to soar above the clouds. For the twins' day of celebration, the festival of the Silver Wings, Ira presented Irana with her own guardian of the sky, made from silver harvested from fallen meteors. Its slender frame was smaller than the storm birds, yet its presence and glint in the starlight heralded death. Irana called it Spear of Heaven. Her father had given her the spear his brother Vaithavash had fashioned for him for the great hunt that the Inain partook in, teaching the Crimsons the song of the hunt. They would point up at the stars, revealing the music that sang of their pursuit of the willow beast and the sterling fish. As the Crimsons hunted, they came to know and follow this song, just as the creatures they pursued did. Irana took the spear, raised it into the air as the sky above crackled with lightning, and said, "Thank you, Father, for this gift you have bestowed upon me. When the people of the earth hear the spear of heaven, even on a cloudless day, they will know that the daughter of Ira soars above, just like her father, the left hand of the cloud bringer." After speaking, she climbed into the bosom of the storm bird and flew into the heavens. She soared among the clouds, among the birds of the air, and with the flying serpents of light. She looked down upon the land beneath her, and swiftly reached the place where her father's enemies dwelled. She opened the mouth of her steed and loosed its claws, bringing down brimstone that melted the enemies of her father. Then she returned to the festival, where her family waited. Anira, the second twin of Ira, is the moon that rises in the north, where the trees smell as sweet as honey. She holds the spirit of her father, whose thoughts flow like the winds that carry melodies to those who are attentive. The same wind carries a leaf that settles on the peaks of snow-capped mountains, triggering an avalanche of death below. Those who often followed the whispers of Ira soon found their mental strongholds crumbling under the ponderings of celestial beings. Her eyes shone with the brilliance of a collapsing star, and at their center lay a bottomless well, deep enough for one to fall into. She kept her hair in a braid woven by the three sisters of all. Those graced by her passing would catch the scent of the ethereal oil the sisters worked into each braid, binding them with beads crafted from the bones of the great bird, Mal Rafa. Mal Rafa had saved Anira and Irana from the jaws of the Yalhim when they wandered past the southern meadow, guided the Neltori back home through the red winter, and was later slain by the enemies of Ira. Etched into each bead were the runes of the elder tongue. It is said that no book of heaven or earth remains unread by Anira. Legend holds that she has seen the halls of Vano and studied its tomes. She was the founder of the halls of knowledge, which were built by her son, Anroth, the son of Anira and Tal Resh, the forest walker. Tal Resh's first gift to her was 1,000 trees, from which the first 3 books of the Dance of the Stars were made.